All right. Well, I'm excited to dive in. Charlie Silver is the CEO of Permission.io. I watched quite a bit of your interviews and read quite a bit about the company beforehand. Um, but Charlie, do you want to give me a little, maybe a short update on Permission.io? I know you've certainly done this a bunch, but would love to hear it from you first.
Well, our mission is being a leader going into Web3, which is allowing individuals to capitalize an asset that's the most valuable asset in the world, which is data. Personal data is the most valuable commodity on the planet. I mean, we all know about Google, Facebook, but credit card companies, magazine companies, government entities. I mean, your data is sold and repackaged and resold in every industry imaginable, insurance, anything financial, even retail. But you don't get a cut. Permission's whole mission is to allow individuals to start earning from their data in engagement with advertisers.
I love it. That's very succinct. To me, intuitively, it feels, well, I want to hear from you as well, of course, but I feel on some level there is an exchange being made. I want to hear your reactions to this. If I'm willing to give my data away to, say, Google or YouTube or whoever, I'm going to get free access to software and presumably all the benefits from that software that, say, Facebook would offer. Is that, when you look at the model of that arrangement between the consumer providing data, Facebook getting the data from the user so then they could sell to advertisers and get more targeted, I sort of view it as like the benefit from the consumer would be that they get more targeted advertisements. So things are more relevant to me, more interesting to me. And then I also get the free software. Do you tell me where that's like, tell me where you just have a reaction to that that's like, this could be way better?
Well, I don't personally have a problem with it. That is the model. It's created the biggest, greatest companies in the history of mankind. But there's also the mindset that says this data has tremendous value. Google is getting all the value from it, and I'm not getting a piece. And so I certainly understand the point of view that, hey, we're providing free services. You're trading those free services for your data. Okay, that's fine. But there's another model that says advertisers would like to compensate individuals directly instead of giving the bulk of the profit to Facebook and Google. Let the individual start earning from their engagement and sharing their data. So I have no illusion that we're going to eliminate the model of Google and Facebook, but here's an alternative model.
Yeah, yeah. And really the structural difference is that the blockchain makes it possible. You guys issued a token. Can you talk a little bit more about that? The vision of the token would be used as the intermediary, the means for transferring value between the advertisers and the consumers. So, yeah.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. Our token, ask, is the vehicle which advertisers engage with consumers. So advertisers run ads. They say, here's 200 ASK to, engage. You can click through to a landing page. Imagine it's Nike. They ask you, do you play tennis, golf, or soccer? How old are you? Where do you live? Okay, you're willing to share that first party data. Here's 200 ASK. This is how you claim it. You got to, for people who don't have a wallet immediately, they have to open a wallet and then they can get their first crypto. They'll never forget that they got their first crypto from Nike.
Yeah. It's interesting because you're in some way you're taking the fat out of that. I call it fat, but it's necessary value that, say, Facebook has. If they were to be compressed, that middleware for distribution between advertisers and consumers, you're basically saying we want to give that extra fat, we'll call it money. We're going to give that to the
Margin,
consumer.
call it
Margin.
margin.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. And you could imagine that it goes the other way, that products just become slightly less expensive, right? Does that conceptually make sense? I mean, do you think that would be the natural flow of things if advertisers didn't have to spend as much? There's more competition compressing prices down, and consumers, while they don't have a change in the fact that they're getting paid, they would see reduced prices. I don't know if it would be noticeable, but
Yeah, listen, advertising is a fact of business.
Mhm.
It's the biggest industry in the world, practically. I mean, if you add up all of the money spent on new customer acquisition, we're talking several $1 trillion globally. Um, all the software, all the marketing capabilities, you know, businesses have to acquire new customers. This is a means for advertisers to engage with people and make it more attractive. So we're enabling advertisers to advertise on the open web,
Hmm.
target people just like they do on Google or Facebook across the open web, and then offer them ASK. It's just another vehicle to acquire customers, engage with them, build loyalty, build trust. There's just a myriad, infinite number of ways which advertisers, you know, uh, uh, engage with consumers to try and get their business. And this is just an alternative way, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
independent of, think about coupons, think about loyalty programs, think about, all different forms of advertising and incentives. This is just a specific way
Hmm.
using cryptocurrency to incentivize people to engage, opt in, build a relationship with the advertiser.
I love it. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. You started the company a few years ago, I think 2017. Was there a early cohort of advertisers or consumers? But I would think advertisers is easier to identify that came on to the platform.
Well, all of our advertisers reach our audience programmatically, right?
Mm,
So they bid for the inventory through various ad exchanges, right? We're launching our own bidding platform. That's the big move for us. Okay, that we're launching what's called the demand side bidding platform, or in the ad tech world, DSP.
mm,
And that's what's going to enable advertisers to reach anybody on the open web. They can target them and then they can offer them ASK.
mm.
And this is coming in the next few months. Right now, advertisers have the ability to engage with people who've signed up on permission, right? And we have, 500,000 of those, which is a pretty big crypto audience, but still, the next big move is to enable that to the whole open web. And that's
Mm.
when we really take off.
So that would work. I'm thinking like similar to an experience of signing up for AdWords with the Google advertising platform. If I'm a advertiser, I would sign up on your platform, your demand side marketplace, and then
Yeah,
create
call
the
it
listen.
ads.permission.io. You log on and you can run a campaign to the open web.
And how do you guys? I'm just asking. I'm so curious. How do you distinguish the pool of consumers that are signed up on the 500,000 that you have in your like your walled garden and the rest? Is there networks or somehow you have? How does that work?
Well, okay. It, we're getting into the nitty gritty of ad tech, but we have, call it the permission walled garden, right?
Mm,
That's our source of ad supply that nobody else can tap into. It's
hmm.
like Facebook has their walled garden source of supply. They allow advertisers to come, ad exchanges to use Facebook supply, but only on a limited basis. I mean, there's lots of bidding platforms. Have you heard of the Trade Desk? You know, uh,
Yes.
I mean, Google Ad Exchange is a DSP, but that goes out to the open web. But Google keeps their search engine just to them. You know,
Mm,
nobody else can advertise on the Google search engine unless you come in through the Google bidding platform.
mm. So that is the DSP a when you use the word open web, is it effectively a marketplace that individual advertisers can put bids up into? And the way that you're thinking about it or building it is that you're a vehicle onto that open marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of pipes. Google is a big part of it. There's something called Xandr,
Hmm.
Pubmatic. You know, there's all these pipes that connect to sources of supply, like news sites and e-commerce sites, and you know, all kinds of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of content sites, right? That these pipes connect to, right? And we've made all the deals with all these sources of supply that we can put a bidding interface and allow an advertiser to connect to those sources of supply.
Hmm. Interesting. And how did you see this opportunity? I mean, this is kind of genius in the way that you describe it. It's certainly the combination of the ad tech background in conjunction with the opportunity in blockchain. Were you at a point where you could just see both of the worlds enough to blend them together with permission? Or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, for 15 years, I built a company that was a permission marketing company. It was called RealAge. It was a health media company where we had a health risk assessment that told people their real age or their biological age versus their chronological age, and how they can grow younger.
Mm.
Dr. Mehmet Oz, you know, Dr. Oz on television,
Hmm.
was our spokesperson. And he was on Oprah. And Oprah and Oz always would talk about real age, how your real age can be younger. Well, anyway, we collected more data than anybody could possibly imagine about people's health and well being. And we would ask people permission if they would like to receive information on products and services that can help make their real age younger. And people would then opt in and say yes. And when they do that, we know that the ROI was 10x better than just
Mm.
throwing ads at people and interrupting them. When somebody says, yes, I would like information on how I can lower my blood pressure, they open the ads, they open the emails, they respond literally 10x better. So I know this whole concept of permission works, right? If you give people the opportunity to say, yes, I volunteer to receive something, the
Mm.
ROI is orders of magnitude better. So I know that. And then, yeah, I was super interested in crypto, and it just all made sense to me to use crypto as a vehicle for permission.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that the health world is really unique in it, to say the least. My wife is a doctor, and she talks a lot about the EHRs, the software that hospitals use and doctors interact with, and the fact that they are just warehouses of data. And because of a lot of the regulations in HIPAA, which is a government regulation on accessing healthcare data, it's very difficult for other companies to tap into that data, even with permission. These EHR or software vendors that control the patient health information in hospitals are like locked in. You know, they just rarely ever let other companies have access to it. And I think there is a big need to let people have access to their data to do these kinds of things, to let people, you know, get targeted advertisement, get compensation for it, even just exporting it. Apple CareKit released a tool that you could pull out of the EHR, but it's like, talk about data for individuals. That's very important and valuable, and how it seems very broken to me that people can't easily access that data. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but when you self report, it's a little bit different than electronic health records. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to be releasing a mobile app, you know, with the vision of store your financial data, store your health records, store your real estate information, whatever data you want, and then you'll share it with people based on how much you get compensated for it.
Mm.
And that's the vision. The long-term vision is that data is a hard asset. And, if you think about, so much of the web runs on lead generation, all these insurance companies, you know,
Yeah.
life insurance, select quote, all it is lead generation, fill out a little form, and then they sell that data to the big health life insurance companies. Equifax, free credit report. It's just a way to get your data that they sell, to the
Yeah.
credit card companies. So you don't get a cut.
Yeah.
So we're enabling, our vision is to enable people to monetize their data in all of these situations.
Yeah, yeah. Any idea, is there a way that you think about the value of an individual's data, say over the course of a year? Like how much is it based? Do you think of it as a percentage of spend or maybe there's some, I would imagine that's the metric you think of. Like if a person spends 50,000 a year, is the maximum possible value they could get paid for their data like 20% of that or?
It's an interesting question. It really comes down to what you're looking to buy. I mean, if you're looking to buy get a new mortgage or buy a new home, your data's worth a lot. You know,
Mhm.
you know, life insurance, your data's worth a lot. You know who pays the most for leads right now? The gambling sites. If you
Really?
can get, yeah, the sports betting. If you send a lead to a sport, up to $2,000 for a new account. If you referred it. I mean,
Damn. What? So people spend. So if you get someone into gambling, I guess they're just going to spend a lot more than a house.
well, I mean, again, it's just what you're participating in. If you're buying high ticket items that have recurring aspects, credit cards, lead generation for credit cards is huge.
Yeah.
Um, uh, American Express pays, I don't know, a couple $1,000s for a qualified lead. You know,
Wow. So that is the kind. So, two ways I want to ask this: part A and part B. So, could I expect to receive a couple $1,000s from a credit card company through the Ask token? Is
it
that practical?
depends. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not a couple $1,000s, but maybe a couple $100 if you're, a really qualified person and a good potential customer. Absolutely.
Hmm. And then I
And
guess,
that's the ecosystem that we're trying to create, is one where advertisers and people looking for new customers are willing to bid directly to the consumer to engage and share their data.
yeah, yeah. It's like whenever I sign up on a website and I know I signed up for this food delivery service. It's like Blue Apron, but it's not Blue Apron. I think Sunbasket, Sun Harvest. Anyways, I sign up for them and I know that they do a ton of these like podcast and online promo codes. So I spend 10 minutes trying to find a promo code online somewhere and I don't find it. So I just sign up organically. And then, of course, as soon as I get in there, it's like advertising all different kind of promos, invite other people. And then I listen to a podcast on the way home that same day, and it's like sign up for Sunbasket and get $30 off. And as an organic sign up, I received none of that credit. They got me as a consumer for free, whereas it would have been nice to be compensated for that directly. It's really introducing a new model, which is people getting paid directly to sign up for services that they are interested in.
Yeah, and I mean, we're using crypto, but think about when you're in the airport, there's a dozen credit card companies with airline sponsors that say, we'll give you 50,000 airline points, sign up for the
Yeah.
credit card.
Yeah.
It's a very similar kind of thing. It's just we're using crypto, as the vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Do you see it as, like, do you see it as tangential to Honey, the Chrome extension where people can get rewards or
Coupons.
coupons back? I mean, is it, you mentioned it earlier, but it's it's distinguished in the fact that you're not just giving Bitcoin to people. Actually, I interviewed a guy recently. He runs a company called Lolly, and they give people Bitcoin directly when they sign up and use different services. But in many ways, the concept of having your own token seems more interesting because you can control the access. You can control the what are you doing? You're connecting the publishers, connecting the advertisers to the consumers. I maybe help me understand this better. What is the advantage of having your own token? And if you want to
Well,
comment.
I mean, it gives us the ability to, make money. Frankly,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we've created a token, and that in many ways is our product. Advertisers have to purchase the token in order to run campaigns. So it's our business. We're in the
mm.
token business.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
uh,
Are there other?
I mean,
Mm.
Lolly is an interesting company, but they get their affiliate fee and they just split it with the consumer and with Bitcoin. You know,
Mm.
which is a cool thing. That's cool. But we're a
Mm.
very different kind of model.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, people ask, why not just offer people Bitcoin? Well, you could, but that's just not our business. I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It seems like you said, it's the biggest industry, advertising, in the world, and there are going to always be a fragmented market. No one should hopefully ever come and control such a large percentage of the market with one way. Yeah, I agree with you. So you raised the ICO, the coin offering. Was it at during that time in 2017, 2018, where there was a lot of releases, a lot of
yeah,
ICOs?
we didn't list our token. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, we had a lot to build. I mean, we didn't release a token until we had real functionality. You know, we didn't have anything trading. We did what was called, we raised money through what's called a SAF, a simple agreement for future tokens, where
Mm.
people invested. And then we didn't release the token until last year. You know, we listed it almost exactly a year ago.
Mm.
And that's when investors in the SAFT, accredited investors only, we didn't sell it to the public, uh, uh, you know, got their tokens and were
Mm.
able to trade them.
Anything you would have maybe done differently in the past, or even come away from the experience of going through the ICO and issuing a token and
Well, we
using the
did a
SAP?
SAFT. We did not do an ICO.
No
We
ICO.
did
Okay.
not sell anything to the public. It was only accredited investors, which
Mm.
are, there's you need 1.5 million liquid net worth to be considered a accredited investor.
Mm. From that experience, anything you come out of it, Charlie, thinking like, boy, I would advise people, not advise as in financial advice, but just thoughts coming out of the experience saying, I'm glad I did it this way. I wish I had done it this way. People thinking about,
Well, and being, the regulations are very ambiguous.
yeah.
It's a very tough water to navigate. To be a company, that's U.S. centric and trying to issue a crypto. There's a lot of, just we're compliant crazy and we try and be as compliant as possible, but still there's guesswork involved too.
Mm.
You know, uh, it's, you know,
Is the most ambiguous area right now, in your view? It's not who can invest. It's more or less the. Do you see it as a specific pain points, or things like just issuing tokens in and of itself, or who you can raise from, or the types of arrangements? Is there something more nuanced? Do you feel that is pretty vague when it comes to the regulation?
well, the U.S. regulators have to define, you know, what qualifies as a currency, what's a utility, and what's a security, you know.
Mm.
And we're happy to abide by the securities laws. Let's just make it clear, you know. Let's just
Yeah.
get clarity, you know. And they haven't been willing to really define what these asset classes are. And, you know, everybody in the industry, including Coinbase,
Yeah.
is trying to navigate ambiguous regulation.
Yeah.
People want to comply, just give us a set of rules and we'll comply.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so obvious, really, when you put it like that. I'm sure they're. I mean, I'd like to assume that they are taking a stance of reactionary regulation, letting people play it out, and then, as they did in the internet, which I think was generally the philosophically correct path to take, which is let things happen, and then we'll come in and make rules as they need them. It does feel like currency is different in that we know that there's going to be rules. And so it's not like you're waiting around wondering if there's going to be rules. You're, as a crypto founder, and I am myself, thinking this is difficult because if I make the wrong decision now, and then there are rules that come around, I'm going to have to change fundamentally how I do business. And that's daunting.
Yeah, we really bend over backwards to be compliant. We do some things that crypto people don't necessarily like. Like when you earn on our platform to withdraw, you have to do KYC. And a lot of
Mm.
people in crypto don't like KYC, but I don't see how we can, I know that's baked in the cake, regulatory wise. So we're trying to get ahead of it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I agree with you. Anytime it's people are being paid out in crypto, KYC is at least the threshold, some amount to where they take out 50,000. The nice thing kind of about your business though, when it comes to regulation, I guess when KYC is concerned, is that you can't, it's not like an unlimited funnel, an unlimited pipe. It's not like an exchange where you could just, transact millions. People can only make what they earn, so to speak. I don't know if I'm using the right
yeah,
terminology
no, that's
internally, but
correct. Yeah,
yeah.
that's correct.
Um, are there certain numbers you've seen in terms of how many people are earning, or what an average person is currently earning through the?
You know, Again, it's a multivariable thing.
Mm,
What the ad is, who the advertiser are, who the recipient is, what the token price. There's like 7 or 8 variables here. But again, when we launched the DSP, people who are looking for mortgages can earn a
mm,
lot versus
mm,
someone looking for socks or underwear. I
mm.
mean, it's all, it's very, too many variables to say what the average person can earn. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So true. So true. I want to ask you on privacy. Certainly there's a lot of attention going to privacy. I know you think a lot about it. There's controversy. Let's see, where do you want to draw the playing field? It's like whether or not certain companies should have access to what certain companies need to do to have access to your data. So Apple released the feature now where you have to approve certain apps permission to access your data, which was pretty, I guess you'd call it controversial. I mean, to me, it feels pretty intuitive. That's what I would want to do as a user, but that wasn't the default way things had been done. Facebook is not very happy with that, and many other media companies are not very happy with that. Do you see this as what's your general take on where we
Well,
are?
Apple is doing exactly, in their new policies in the App Store where, and these are Tim Cook's words, not mine, apps have to ask permission explicitly in order to be able to use the user's data. And the vast majority of people are opting out and saying no. But when you reward people, when you say, well, here's 500 ASK,
Yeah.
people say, okay, I'll take that and you can use my data. I mean, so that's going to change the whole equation. And that's exactly the product market fit that the whole industry is going to move this way. GDPR and CCPA
Mm,
on a regulatory side is forcing advertisers and platforms to get explicit consent to use consumer data.
mm.
And they're not really doing it yet, but enforcement's going to start happening. And I'm not saying our business works because of regulations. It works because it's good business. It's good for advertisers to reward users to opt in and engage and share their data. But
Yeah.
uh,
Did you see the documentary, The Social Dilemma, on
yeah,
Netflix?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty. I think that was a wake up call for a lot of people. That the Where do you feel like people are the most emotionally reactive to this? I mean, people on some level understand the transaction of data. It does seem like there's a fear of companies getting too large and being in too much they have too much control. They know you more than they know yourself. I think a lot of people watch that documentary and they come away thinking Facebook knows me better than I know myself, and therefore they can twist me. They can get me to stay on my screen, stay on my computer longer than is good for me. They're not out for my best interest. They're out for theirs, of course, but they're willing to make a compromise and twisting. It's I find it vague. Like I couldn't quite pin it down conceptually why people are angry about this. I'm curious if you have a take on this, but ultimately it feels like people can put the phone down. They're not physically locking you. It's
Well, look at, I mean, you just got to know what you're dealing with. I mean,
yeah,
if you like Facebook, use Facebook.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, if that's, uh, um, just be aware that every time you click on something or your friends buy something, if they know they have this massive profile on you, and are able to suggest things, whether it's news, content, or products that, you're likely to accept and consume. So, it's your choice. Whether or not you want to use it.
yeah, yeah. Well, that I think a lot of even those words, it's people's choice. It's like, in my mind, I think it's similar in a way to gambling, where people can always just stop. You can stop gambling at any point. There's not a physiological. You're not being drugged or anything, but yet we recognize gambling as a clinical addiction. And there's this it's like this gamification that's almost hardwired in us to be susceptible to certain exploits. It's almost like if our mind is software, there are certain viruses certain programs that can loop us in. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, again, listen. There's lots of ways for people to engage, gather information, do their shopping. I'm all about individuals making choices for themselves and not,
yeah,
having, big centralized authorities make decisions for us. So I have no problem with Facebook. If people want to use Facebook, great.
yeah.
But there's lots of alternatives to connecting with people and gathering information and shopping, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. It's interesting, the whole debate, and how it involves politics and the government oversight. Do you generally believe that the government should be involved in breaking up companies in this space? I mean,
No, no,
yeah,
I'm not in favor of the antitrust stuff. Is
yeah,
silly. The markets. The best thing the government can do is get the hell out of the way.
I agree.
Just get out of the way. Markets do wonderful things. You know, who's on top today has nothing to do with who's going to be on top in 5, 10 years. These things are very dynamic. Let the free market work. That's the best regulator of all. We don't need government breaking up Google or Facebook. I wouldn't be in favor of that. um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, allow others to compete. That's what, Google and Facebook like regulations because they can afford to deal with them.
Mm.
It's the startups that, makes it really expensive to
Yeah.
deal with it. So, anyway,
Yeah.
my government policy is stay out of the way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's such an important message because it reverberates so much in terms of the companies that we're building. It's like we're riding the waves of the decisions that are being made politically. I recently read this book by Matt Ridley called How Innovation Works. And he gave great examples in the books of how regulation that sounds nice and it sounds like it's protecting the consumer and the individual is putting a moat around the larger incumbents in the space and making it difficult for startups to come in. And I think
Yeah,
it's
it's like in the drug business. I mean, it's the most regulated business in the world, but the regulators just serve the big pharma companies. I mean, that's who their customers are. Well, same with the Federal Reserve. You know, they make regulations to serve the biggest banks. That's their
mm,
customer. That's their constituency. I mean, so regulations just serve the entrenched interests and are horrible for a dynamic economy.
mm. Do you think there's do you think we come out of the crypto world, say fast forward 20 years, and it's just this gradual growth in crypto and decline in fiat usage as the innovation flourishes on the crypto and blockchain side, and regulators kind of ease up their control, and the Federal Reserve says, oh, well, this is the wave of the future and we want what's best for us citizens, and let's is that trajectory logical, or do you see that as likely? I've thought a lot about whether there's this inevitable clash between the government, which wants to maintain power, and they do that primarily through means of currency control, and there's a clash with the crypto world. I don't know how
Yeah,
to
I mean,
think about
it's
that.
already happening.
Yeah.
Government needs fiat currency, else, they can't fund themselves, right?
Mm.
I mean, the dollar is a United States product, and if you think about our foreign policy, so much of it has to do with the dollar. You know, why why are we in a fight with Russia? Why? Well, because Russia wants nothing to do with the dollar system. Same with China. Same with all of our adversaries have always been opting out of the dollar system, and that's what creates an adversary. So
Mm.
that's why Bitcoin and crypto is a means for peace. It really is.
Mm.
Uh, you know, so there's going to be a clash between fiat currency and crypto, but the countries that don't have real strong fiat currencies, like El Salvador, like the Ukraine, like
Mm.
the Philippines, these countries are going to be the early adopters of crypto, and the dollar, and you know Europe and Japan and China are going to be the last embrace you know embracers of crypto.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost like a evolutionary process. As one area or domain, call it a country, becomes dominant through some culture and practices, then it's like the incumbent who has a complete monopoly is most vulnerable to disruption when new technology comes around. And this is why, going back to your earlier point, I very much agree with you on how important it is for the government not to be involved in breaking up companies in the private space, because is a it destroys the potential for the small and mid-sized companies to come in and truly disrupt. Like, I'm sure you've seen the antitrust regulations around Microsoft when they were, basically putting pressure and eventually did break up Microsoft. Bill Gates was saying that he spent so much time on that he couldn't focus on the phone. And the reason why there's not a third player in the mobile phone space is because of all the work they were doing and distractions on the antitrust. And it's like, that's the price we pay. And the tough part is we don't see it. You don't see a lack of a phone. You just don't have a third player in the space. And Yeah.
Yeah, well, antitrust is goofball. You penalize people for being successful. I mean, that's you know, it's just silly.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other ideas or things that you've learned over the years that you feel strongly about, whether they're positions or
No, listen, crypto is such a wonderful industry. It appeals to me, all my values, which are all about individual rights, the ability for individuals to take charge of their own lives and be independent, and you know, and not be reliant on the decisions of others. So, at my core, I'm a very deep believer in individual rights and sovereignty. So, this business that we've created is totally consistent with those values.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Fast forward, you guys are releasing this marketplace. You're obviously trying to grow the token. Anything specific that you guys do tactically internally, or that you want to be in the future? When you think of permission, are there other verticals or other major products like way down the line that you haven't started building yet? That
Oh, sure. I mean, think about email marketing. Think about how much spam you get. Imagine a world where, it might be a spam, but they offer you 200 ASK to
Mm.
open it and respond.
Mm.
So, email marketing is really key. Surveys, streaming television, um, uh, Uh, oh, there's so much. I mean, anytime someone's trying to get your attention or your engagement, ASK, they should ask you, ask
Mm.
me, you know. So there's just an infinite number of use cases that we envision. So the roadmap is big, 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 and
Mm.
we want Ask to be the most widely used reward in digital advertising.
Mm. The experience on, say, Gmail, for example, would it be an extension in the browser, and that is what appears and gives me the opt in, opt out, or you?
We haven't built it yet, but we do have a browser extension. And I encourage people to download our browser extension that, as you surf the internet, will show you relevant ads that offer you ASK. And so that was a big feature that we launched earlier this year.
Mm. I love it, man. Any other thoughts or things you're looking for, whether you're hiring certainly people to check out the wait, where's the best touch point, would you say? People can certainly
Well,
buy the
sign up
token.
on permission.io.
Mhm.
All of your
Yeah.
audience can go there, sign up, earn some ASK, open a wallet. You have ASK just by opening an account. Uh, Follow us on Twitter, permission.io. I'm Permission CEO on Twitter. That's where you can get a lot of information about what's happening, with ASK and permission. So, we have a very robust, thriving community, and I encourage all your listeners to be a part of it.
It's awesome. How many other people that do you work with on the team internally?
Well, there's about 25 employees, and then just a whole host of contractors and other, players.
Yeah.
So,
Well, cool, Charlie. Congrats on all the progress, man. It really seems like a mission-driven company. You guys have made great progress and certainly riding the waves of innovation in the future in the direction we want to go.
yeah, no, pay attention over the next, 3 to 6 months. We're going to have a ton of announcements and lots of really cool stuff happening. So,
Cool, cool, cool. All right, my man. Well, thank you for catching up. I appreciate the time, and we'll talk soon.
all right, Mike, thanks so much for having me on.